ShavuaTov. This is Motzei Shabbat Parshat Shmini for this year 5775, and it's also Rosh Chodesh Iyar. So I want to share with you something that I read this week that made an impression on me. It was an email from a lady in Israel whose name is Nava Yosef Shvili, and she works for Eged. That's all I know about her, and she lives in Rehovot. And every week she arranges shiurim for women, and I happened to be on her email list because Gila introduced me to the things that she writes. So she has the following story. She heard this story from Rebbetzin Neustadt, whose sister and brother-in-law were standing at a bus stop on a rainy day in Yerushalayim, and they needed to get to her son's yeshiva. And they couldn't even get a taxi. You know how hard it is to get a taxi on a rainy day. And then some guy pulled up and said, "I'll give you a ride." Tremp, as you say in Israel. And they weren't really comfortable, and they said that they're willing to accept the ride only on the condition that he lets them pay. Because they have to get to the son's yeshiva, and then they have to get to another place after that. So he said, "No, come in." Yeah, I said, come in to the car. And they were soaking wet, And they insisted on being able to pay. And he said, "No way. I'm not taking any money from you. You're not going to deprive me of my mitzvah. I try to do chesed, to help people out. You're not going to steal this mitzvah from me by paying for it. I'm always trying to do chesed, always finding some way, to do chesed for somebody." So the Rebbetzins' brother-in-law is a Rosh Yeshiva, and he asked the guy driving the car, "Why are you so insistent on this? What moves you to be so insistent about that?" So he said, "I'm going to tell you a story that happened to a friend of mine. A very good friend of mine is an Avrech. He learns Torah in the Kollel. And there was this old man that he used to help take care of. And he didn't have any family. And he would go to the old man's house, and he'd straighten out the house and clean. He'd do his shopping, and he took care of everything for quite a period of time. And one day, this elderly man said to this Kollel man, "I really have so much appreciation for what you do for me. I don't know how I could ever repay you. I don't have money. I have nothing. I can't leave you like an inheritance in my will. So what can I do for you?" So this Kollel guy, he says, "After 120 years, when you go to the next world, when you get there, come to me in a dream and tell me stories, what is happening up in heaven." So the old man said, I don't know if I'm on the level to be able to guarantee such a thing, but if in Shamayim, if in heaven they let me come to you, so I'll do that for you." 2 years later, the man passed away. And by that time, this Kollel guy had totally forgotten what he had even said. But during the Shiva for this man, the old man appeared to him in a dream. And he told him the following: The heavenly court sent me to you because I made a promise to you. Because throughout my life, I was always very careful to fulfill everything that I promised. So because I was so careful about that, they let me keep this promise also. And they said that I could come to you, even though this is not a simple thing. This is not a simple thing at all, to communicate from the other world. But this is not a game. This is not child's play. But I had no choice, I accepted, and I'm allowed to tell you two things. I guess since when the kollel guy asked, tell me sipurim, stories, that's plural, so they gave him permission to tell two stories. The first thing is that when I came up to heaven, I was very unpleasantly surprised. I saw it was olam hafuch, like the Gemara says. It was an upside-down world. All the simple people in this world that nobody pays any attention to, they make a big fuss over up in heaven. And all the really important people, the machers in this world, they're like nothing up there. So the simplest people here are like the most important. And it says in Pirkei Avot, Al tihi baz l'chol adam, ve'al tihi maflig l'chol davar, she'en lecha adam she'en lo sha'a, ve'en lecha davar she'en lo makom. Don't denigrate any person. And don't think that there's nothing that has no purpose. Because every person has his moment, and everything has its place. So never make light. Don't be mezalzel. Don't make light. Don't denigrate any person, because you don't know really who is a great person and who is a nothing. And the second thing I'm allowed to tell you is when I stood in the heavenly court, they took everything that I did in my life and they put it on a scale. And it looked to me like there were a lot of mitzvahs that I did that weren't even there. It was like, what about all the Torah that I learned and all the brachos that I made? They didn't even get onto the scales. So I said, where are all the things that I did in my life? So they said to me, the things and the mitzvos that you did without good intention, or without intention, without kavanah, or that you did for selfish reasons, or like, I got to do this because otherwise people will think less of me. So with those mitzvos, everything you do makes a little angel. It makes an angel from what you do. And, she doesn't mention this here, but Rav Moshe Cordovero in the Tomer Devorah says that every mitzvah that you do creates an angel, and it flies up to heaven. Hashem keeps it and stores it for you. But when a person does an aveira, if a person sins, so then it's God's kindness that He doesn't let that fly up to eternity. That stays in this world. And that's why good people suffer, because the bad stuff that they do still bounces around here. And the good stuff that they do, that God doesn't let get used up in this world. That's for eternity. But a lot of the things, the quote-unquote good things that you didn't do with enough kavanah, didn't do with good intention. So you created a very weak angel from those things, and those things haven't been able to get up here. They're like trying to fly up, but they're not making it. And you don't get a reward for this. Very scary idea. But I said, I see on the scale that there are things here that I did without such good intentions also. And sometimes because I want the people to think good of me. And they are here. How come? So they said, and he said, but what were those things? That was the tzedakah and the chesed. It was the kindness they did for someone else. So even though I had, I didn't do it for the most altruistic, didn't do it only for the glory of God, I did it for my glory also, and there it is on the scale. So what is that all about? You did something good for another person. You helped somebody out. So Hashem silcha yad yiminecha. Hashem is your shadow. Hashem does what you do. Midah keneged midah. God does things measure for measure, a turn for a turn. So you helped out somebody, whatever your reasons were, Hashem will help you out also, whatever your reasons are, whatever His reasons would be. He'll help you out even if it's not for the best reason. So, if you give somebody a smile, Hashem will smile at you too. Don't forget about what the reason is. So, the Rambam, in the last Mishnah of Masechet Makot, the last Mishnah of Masechet Makot is the Mishnah that we say all the time at the end of every chapter, Pirkei Avot. Rabbi Hananya ben Akashya Omer, Ratzah Kadosh Baruch Hu, Zakoti Yisrael leficha chirba lehem Torah mitzvot, shene'emar Hashem chafetz man tzidko yakdil Torah v'yadir. So Rabbi Hananya ben Akashya said, God wanted to lizakot. The question how to translate that, to purify or to give every Jew the opportunity to be zakai, to win eternity. And therefore He gave us a lot of Torah and mitzvos. So what is that about? So the Rambam says, he says, and this is where it fits in with what in this story. So he says, I'm reading from the Kafach translation. Misodot ha'emunah b'Torah shim kiyem adam mitzvah mishlosh v'shesh miot mitzvot karaui v'chahogen v'lo shitef imam matara mimatarot ha'olam hazeh klal ela asa lishma me'ahava kamo shebe'arti lecha harei hu zocheh ba l'chayei olam haba. If a person does a mitzvah completely lishma, out of the love for God, that is the ticket to heaven. That's what gets a person eternity. L'chein amar Rabbi Hananya, ki machmat ribuy hamitzvot אי אפשר שלא יעשה האדם אחת בכל ימי חייו בשלמות ויזכה להשארות הנפש באותו המעשה. So Rabbi Hananya ben Akashya said, you know why God gave us so many mitzvahs? Because He wanted to make sure that at least once in a lifetime, a person will do at least one mitzvah out of love and pure motives. So at least after you try to do everything, at least one thing you'll do for the right reason, and that will be your key to Olam Haba, to the world to come. You have to take advantage of every mitzvah that comes by, and you never know which mitzvah it's going to be. That's your key. Don't think, oh, I got it already. And the Gemara says, Leolam yasok adam b'Torah mitzvot shelo lishma, shemitoch shelo lishma ba lishma. A person should always do mitzvahs, Torah and mitzvos, shelo lishma, even for not the right reason, even for selfish reasons, even for ego considerations. Shemitoch shelo lishma ba lishma, because from doing something out of selfish reasons, you will come to selfless reasons, the selfless connection, to do it for the glory of God. And so the Rosh Yeshiva Kemer Yavne of Goldblich Zatzal explained, I think he said in the name of Reb Chaim Abalozhin, it doesn't say sometimes you do it or whenever you can. It says Le'olam yasok adam mitzvot shelo lishma. You should always do Torah and mitzvos for a selfish reason. Shemitoch shelo lishma ba lishma. The only way you can ever get to selfless reason, a selfless level, the only way you can ever get to the love of God as opposed to the love of yourself is to start with the love of yourself. So Reb Chaim Balozhin says, if you learn for an hour, and he says a masmid is a person who learns not 16 hours a day, but a person who learns 60 minutes in an hour. If during that hour that you're learning, for 1 second, you reach lishma, you're doing it for the sake of God's will, that's what all of the other time was for. So the Rambam says a whole lifetime is simply the vehicle to achieve even 1 minute or 1 second of complete connection to God. Hashem should bless us that we have at least that one, and that every time we try, we make that connection. Shavua Tov, Chodesh Tov.